JoJo's Bizarre Adventure All-Star Battle R is the latest fighting game developed by CyberConnect 2 and published by Bandai Namco, and it can very well be described as a love letter to the series, featuring many mechanics and features to show this. Starting from the immense all-star cast, these range from the famous stand rush clashes, to special dialogues between characters, special stage finishers, and most importantly,
JoJo, pose, 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 JoJo, pose, pose.
The poses. The legacy of JoJo has mostly been defined by the signature art style of its creator, Hirohiko Araki, and his references to various fashion model poses. This game includes these iconic poses as a special mechanic known as a taunt, which allows characters to do various of their famous poses from the series' 30+ year history, accompanied by a variety of voice lines to mix and match to your liking. But these aren't here just for spectacle. Taunts play an important part in the flow of the game's combat. One can freely taunt mid-match and risk getting majorly punished in the process, but if you manage to down your opponent and taunt slightly after, it becomes a cinematic taunt. A cinematic taunt varies greatly from a normal one. It's an action that can be used once per match for each player, and causes your downed opponent to lose exactly 1 bar of their meter as a result. This simple mechanic plays an integral part in the game's core design, as having a sufficient amount of meter and its subsequent management is key to victory. These taunts are usually performed after a combo is finished, as you need to knock down your opponent in order to get the cinematic. But what if your combo didn't have to end after your taunt? What if there were a few exceptions to this rule? In the following clip, I set a dummy to block all of my attacks. This should obviously mean that the attack I do after a cinematic taunt should be blocked, right? Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the forbidden tech, Taunt Resets. Normally, if you do a cinematic taunt right in front of your opponent and continue your pressure immediately, your opponent will most likely be able to block it or whiff punish you. Taunt Resets, however, completely ignore that aspect and make it so you can continue your combo like nothing ever happened while simultaneously making your opponent lose 1 bar of their meter in the process. What the actual fuck? If you're wondering how this is possible, allow me to explain. As I stated earlier in the video, along with the poses, there is a variety of voice lines to mix and match with these taunts. These voice lines range from simple laughs, remarks, and lines from the series, some of which can go on for a whole 14 seconds. I'm looking at you, Giorno. Now you may be thinking, how do these voice lines play a part in this? Well, buckle up, because this is where the fun begins. Here's what I found. After your opponent is down, they'll then proceed to start their recovery animation, or wake up. In this state, they are unable to be hit by any attacks that aren't OTGs, which are the moves that say went down in the command list, until they stand back up completely. If a voice line is long enough, in this case over 6 seconds long, the game will run the recovery period through the taunt and have most of the invulnerability run out by the end of it. Note that I say most of the invulnerability. There is a catch. Your character needs to have a specifically fast enough move in their kit to hit the opponent on the ground as they get up. That's easy enough, right? That would be a standing light attack, or 5L in fighting game terms. All characters have that. While you may be correct to some extent, there's more to it. Most 5Ls in this game are high-hitting punches that whiff even as your opponent gets back up. There are, however, a few exceptions. Some characters have low kicks as their 5L. Even though the game recognizes them as a high attack, the hitbox for this appears to be low. So once the taunt ends, they can reliably hit their opponent immediately after and continue their combo. To summarize, the requirements to be able to perform a taunt reset are simple yet very specific. A character must have 2 things: a voice line longer than 6 seconds in their taunt, and a kick as their light attack animation. When I first found this out, I went and tested out every single character for this, checking if they had any voice line longer than 6 seconds in their options, and at the end of the day, out of the massive 51 character roster, I managed to find 23 characters that have lines that meet the first requirement for a taunt reset. With one box checked out, the next was to set these lines and see if their 5Ls were fast enough to pass the test. After some time, I was left with a mere 7 characters that passed, these being Part 3 Dio, Part 4 Jotaro, Koichi Hirose, Akira Otoishi, Giorno Giovanna, Jolin Kujo, and Jairo Sapelli. All of these characters met both of the requirements needed to perform a taunt reset, as they not only had the necessary amount of time in their lines, but their 5Ls were kicks that were low enough and fast enough to continue the combo. Though, if you play this game for a bit, you may have noticed, Dio and Jotaro don't have kicks as their 5L animations, so what gives? And you'd be right, they don't have that sort of animation in their 5L, in their base form. But when they have their stand out, yeah, I think they pass. In paper, this does seem like a pretty powerful technique, since you can get it from any attack that can crumple your opponent, even from throws, and it can be used to get more damage, guaranteed setups, or even clutch out a win in the end. Yet it comes with its costs, namely, it's very limited. As cinematic taunts can only be used once per match, it's not the most consistent of methods. If you miss your chance, you lost it for good. Also, the amount of characters that can use this tech is not a lot. With only 7 out of a 51 character roster, the amount of times you see this will be minimal at best. Another thing, as it is used to continue a combo, this game's combo scaling and infinite prevention system will kick in. So if you do this at the end of a long string, the game will probably just say no to you a hit or two after the taunt. With all that said, I hope this video could be of some use to anyone and demonstrates what crazy things this game can do on top of all the wacky stuff it already has. This game is new, there's still more to be discovered, and hopefully whatever is discovered is for the benefit of the game rather than a detriment. Thanks for watching.